Join me today on our continuing odyssey through 90s sci-fi movies as we talk about the movie Darkman. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby, and today we're going to be talking about another 90s sci-fi movie. Also, I guess maybe super technically a superhero movie. I've been debating on going through those from the 90s too, so this might be the first entry in that series as well. But the movie today is Darkman. This movie is directed by Sam Raimi of Evil Dead fame. For those of you who know your B movies, for those of you who know his more high-profile work, he directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And he's directed other movies here and there as well. But this would have been post Evil Dead 1 and 2, but I think pre-Army of Darkness. I'll have to check the dates, because this movie came out in 1990, and I was thinking Army of Darkness came out like in 92, 93. But I'll have to check. And this is pre The Quick and the Dead, his Western attempt, which it's not a bad Western, it's interesting. That one's got all kinds of people in it, though. Sharon Stone is the main character. Gene Hackman's the heavy. Gene Hackman's a great villain, but he's definitely good as a Western villain. He's the two I know of that he's in. He's a real SOB in both of them. DiCaprio in one of his earlier movies. Lance Henriksen, Keith David, Russell Crowe, Gary Sinise. God, I'm probably forgetting some other people, but it's pretty good. I always kind of felt bad for Keith David, because Keith David does like voiceover, or did, I don't know if he still does like voiceover intro stuff for TNT, and so whenever they'd play the movie, he wasn't high enough up on the list of stars to be named, but he's the guy naming the stars, and he's in the movie. So I always kind of felt bad for him about that. But anyway, so this is Sam Raimi's attempt at a superhero movie, kind of. Now, I don't know if this is based on any existing material or not, so I don't know if it's an adaptation. There are two sequels to this movie, which have someone else playing the main character, because Liam Neeson plays the main character in this movie, and it's Arnold Vosloo in the other two. And if you don't recognize that name, he is Imhotep from the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. That's probably where you've heard of him before. He's done a bunch of other things. He's a pretty good actor. But, yeah, so you have him. Frances McDermott is his love interest, a lawyer, and some of the things she does kind of sets the plot in motion unwittingly. Then Larry Drake is the primary villain, like the mafioso type. Robert Durant is his name. And the main reason I know that is because, versus the other two characters' names, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, is that he actually comes back in the third movie, despite the fact that I think it's the third movie, maybe the second movie. I don't know, I've only seen the other two once. But he pretty clearly dies in this one. Like, he's in a helicopter that smashes right into like the entrance to a tunnel, so it's concrete, and the helicopter blows up. I don't know how he supposedly survived. However, given what I'm about to say about the main character, maybe something similar happened to him. So what's it about? Is it any good? Well, the main plot follows Liam Neeson's character, who's a scientist, who is working on fake skin. I believe the concept is for burn victims and things like that. And so, they've got like the 3D modeling, to make it look like a real person's skin and everything. But the thing is, and this is why it's called Darkman, once it's exposed to sunlight, it will only last 99 minutes that it'll melt. They can't get past that 99-minute barrier no matter what they do. But if it's in darkness, it can last longer. So, Darkman. Now, this was definitely early in Liam Neeson's career because he spends most of the movie either under bandages or heavy prosthetics, or both. Because early on, like I said, his I don't remember if it's Frances McDormand's his wife or his girlfriend, but she has some documents that kind of implicate some people in some things, and so the guy in charge sends Durant, who's basically his like attack dog, to retrieve them, and he tortures Liam Neeson's character, kills his lab assistant. Well, actually, technically one of his goons does, played by Ted Raimi, the brother of Sam Raimi, who's in, I think, everything Sam Raimi has ever done, except, no, he's in Spider-Man. He works there at the Daily Bugle. But, so they break into the lab, kill the assistant, and they repeatedly dunk, Liam Neeson's character gets electrocuted, gets dunked into this tank full of chemicals, and I don't know if that is part of what makes him how he is later, but then they do something and the place fills full of gas, and they've got a thing going with those dunking birds with a lighter, and right as he gets over there, it hits and clicks the lighter, whole place explodes. Frances McDormand is out front, somehow doesn't see Liam Neeson's charred, burning body get rocketed out the window and across the street into a lake, so she thinks he's dead. And some typical dark humor from Sam Raimi here. At the funeral, like, her limo driver's talking to the undertaker there. He's like, "Oh, you did pretty quick work there." He goes, "Oh, wasn't much left. There was only an ear that I buried in there." I'm just kind of like, man, guys. And I'm pretty sure she heard most of that too. So, but they fish him out of the water, take him to the hospital. He's burned beyond recognition, so they don't know it's him. And they perform some kind of surgery on him, which makes it so he no longer feels pain, which is why he's not just in constant agony from the burns. But also means that now he's stronger than normal, because a little fun biological fact here for you folks, in case you don't know. Any given person is approximately 4 times stronger than they think they actually are. And it is your pain receptors that stop you from pushing it beyond the limit, because your muscles are strong enough to break your own bones, and if they go to their limit, which is why you have that occasional story of like the old lady that stops a car rolling or something because of adrenaline, because one of the things adrenaline does is it shuts down the pain center of your brain, so these amazing feats of strength become possible all of a sudden. Then you have a heart attack and die. But yeah, so because of that, he's stronger than normal, and you can't hurt him. And it also makes him prone to the occasional outburst of psychotic rage. So he starts taking out Durant's guys. Ted Raimi's the first one to go. He grabs him after some party, takes him down to the sewer and basically waterboards him with sewage. And then finally he's like, "I've told you everything I know." And he's like, "Yeah, I know you have, but I'm going to pretend like you haven't." And then sticks him up, from about, right here so up out of a manhole cover, and waits for, traffic to do the deed and crush his head. Which, to be clear, you don't see. The movie's not super graphic. Then, but it is very violent, and there is some graphic stuff. Then he gets Durant to kill one of his own guys by framing him by pretending to be him after he drugged him, and eventually lures them all to his place and takes them out by pretending to be them one by one. And finally, Durant's in a helicopter. He gets aboard, grabs a hold of a cable that's holding down, and they keep trying to hit him on stuff and never think, hey, I really hope he doesn't attach that cable to something, which he does finally, to a tanker truck. So the helicopter can't pull up, and the tanker truck goes into a tunnel, and helicopter blows up. As far as we're concerned for this movie, that's the end of Durant. And then he fights a guy, the main guy up in the high steel, ends up killing him and his goons, and then basically tells Francis McDermott, like, look, I'm not the man. The man you married is dead. Like, I'm someone else now. I can't be him anymore. You have to let me go. And he runs off and puts on one last mask to blend into the crowd, and it's Bruce Campbell, another perennial favorite of Sam Raimi. As a cameo for like 10 seconds at the end of the movie. It's great. Um, so yeah, overall, it's an entertaining movie. I don't think there's any like huge logical flaws because this isn't really what you'd call a logic-based movie to begin with. This is a pretty straightforward, bad guys. They wrong this guy. He decides to wrong them back, kind of stuff. The sci-fi premise, most of it has to deal with the fake skin and the procedures that made him so he's basically immune to pain and stronger now. There's not really any other sci-fi gimmicks beyond that. So it's kind of low on the sci-fi scale. Down around like Class of 1999 and Dark Angel. Nowhere near like Free Jack and Time Cop and things like that. So on the sci-fi scale, pretty low. Entertainment scale, it's a solid 6.5. It's nothing great, but all the acting's competent. It is a little quirky. Sam Raimi's movies tend to have little idiosyncrasies and things going on, and he's got his trademarks, the super zoom in, the characters that take things just a little less serious than maybe they should. They come off as goofy sometimes, and but that's what a Sam Raimi movie has. So it's not like, oh man, it destroys the movie or anything. No. It all fits. It's mostly played with a serious tone. So really, it's just a handful of times, like some of the just like weird random noises Darkman's making in the final fight with Durant was hanging on from the helicopter and stuff, and the occasional wisecracking as he's killing the villains. But like I said, you expect that from a Sam Raimi movie. Like, if you've seen the Evil Dead movies, you know that like the first one was attempted to be a mostly straight horror movie, and it's got some horrific stuff going on in it. Whereas the second one went like way more in the comedic direction, but it's still a horrific movie. Then Army of Darkness is just full bore comedy almost. This is more like not quite. It doesn't ever hit the peak silly of like Evil Dead 2, and definitely not Army of Darkness. But it's not quite as serious as the first Evil Dead. So it's somewhere between those two in tone. Hopefully that makes sense if you folks have seen those other movies. If not, we'll talk about them at some point. Well, I mean, we'll probably talk about them at some point anyway, whether you folks have seen them or not. But because I don't know if you've seen them. So yeah, that's most of what this one's about. And like I said, it's a revenge plot, but it's good acting all the way through. Liam Neeson in his early days. Larry Drake is pretty good in most of the things I've ever seen him in. Francis McDermott's always good. So, and Ted Raimi's Ted Raimi. Now there are some absurd parts. Like at the very beginning, Durant is going to meet with some other crime boss and basically tell him, hey, I'm taking over. And the other guy he's like set everything up to basically tell Durant to stick it. So they search Durant's guys, take all their weapons and everything. Okay, fine. They bring him inside. Durant and his guys, I think collectively there are less than 10 guys. That's including Durant. And I want to say it's more like 7 or 8. So you have this very small group of guys. They're unarmed. They are surrounded, greatly outnumbered. Like the other guy probably has 30, 40 guys easily, armed primarily with machine guns. So Durant and his guys are just kind of in the middle of all this, and one of them has a fake leg. So the other guy, one of the guys next to him, pulls it off. There's a machine gun built into it, and pops the bolt back and starts going to town. Somehow, Durant's guys walk out of this. I don't think they took a casualty, and they took out all the other guys. And I just don't think that there was enough guys close enough to them that the guy with the machine gun could have taken out, that they could have grabbed their weapons and began firing before any of them took a hit. But also, there's just silly things happening here. Like the guy, for some reason, the other crime boss, not Durant, but the other guy, for some reason, had like 2 or 3 cars in wooden containers just waiting to like drive out with guys with machine guns to start shooting, instead of just having more guys with machine guns out front. I have no idea what the purpose of that was. This is purely like, hey, I'm going to intentionally set this up like it's an action movie for no reason, and it doesn't work out at all. Like, they're driving by and Durant just shoots the driver in the head, and that's it for them. And it was like, what was the point of this? You had people that were delayed getting to the fight. One of them's driving, so half of your manpower is being wasted. Why are they hidden in the crates? Why are they in the cars? It's just so absurd. But, it's an action movie. So, it's just like, oh, well, look at those action scenes, So, it works. But it's things like that. That's why this movie's a 6.5. But yeah, but it's entertaining. Like don't think too hard on that. Don't if you're not gonna watch this movie like from a critic's perspective, don't even think about that at all. It's silly, it's absurd. No one would ever do that, but here it is. So anyway, that's about all I've got on that one. Don't know what movie's gonna be next. I have a considerably extensive list, so I'm sure by the time this gets up, I'll have already watched another movie, and we'll be moving on. I am trying to actually watch all of these before I record these videos, because there's some on here that, like, I could do the one for Stargate without watching it, because I've seen it so many times. But I'm going to watch it beforehand, just to make sure it's fresh in my mind, there's nothing that I've missed, etc., etc. So, let me know down in the comments. Have you seen Darkman? Have you seen the sequels? Did you like any of them? Which one did you prefer out of the 3? Is there another 90s sci-fi movie you'd be interested in me looking at that I haven't already covered? Like I said, I'm considering doing 90s superhero movies as well. So, because there's more of those than I thought there were. Was that going to be of interest to anyone out there? And if so, where should I start, other than the fact that I've already started here at Darkman, but where else should we go? But, yeah, that kind of stuff down in the comments. That all helps the channel, plus gives me an idea what you guys want to hear. So, and like, share, subscribe, it's YouTube, appreciate all that stuff. Sharing and commenting are the big things that really help help us spread. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So, until next time, folks, we'll see you later.